let's get on to the Leicester game. So welcome to all the Leicester fans that are going to be piling in and watching this on YouTube. Last season, we lost 4-1, but to be fair, Glenn, we checked out months before, haven't we? That was just like the game that none of us really wanted. The players didn't want it. We didn't want to watch it. We didn't want to talk about it afterwards. So I don't know if we can take too much from that, but it's going to be a different game this time round.
Well, let's hope so. Leicester have not started well. They seem to be in some sort of financial predicament. They've not signed a single player, I don't think. Lost their goalkeeper, who's been there for 10 years or so, and the replacement doesn't look very good. So that, you know, maybe they'll swoop it. Maybe they're one of them, the myriad of clubs looking to sign Alex McCarthy from us. But yeah, there does seem to be some issues going on there. And you talk about the transfer window and disrupting some teams. I mean, I think I read today they've had a bid accepted for Fafana, or he's agreed personal terms or something like that. So he may not even be playing against us. Maddison's been linked away. Tielemans has been linked away. You know, they've still got Jamie Vardy, who's now 35, I think. So they do seem to be in a spot of bother, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy than Brendan Rodgers. So, who I'm still angry with over Ricky Lambert from all those years ago. So I can hold a grudge for a long, long time. So yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what Leicester turns up. As Steve mentioned earlier, they got ripped apart by Arsenal, who are of course a very good side this year, or they look it certainly at the start of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how Leicester go. It's I know we've had some decent results up there in the past, but the last couple of games that we played against them, I just thought they looked kind of too good for us, really. But they're not going to have the confidence that they normally go into a game with against us. So I personally hope that we do bin off the three at the back and we go for it. Maybe not with the kamikaze way that we went with the last 20 minutes yesterday, but you know, I do hope we try and get on the front foot, because I don't think it's a game that we're going to win by trying to contain them. Because we're, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be like a basketball game and it's going to end up 7-6 to someone, but it needs, I do feel we need to get on the front foot to have a best chance of getting anything out of that game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot more now than, you know, having seen them get beat again yesterday and us finish the game strongly. It's one that I'm actually looking forward to now and thinking we might actually get something out of it.
And Steve, it's a good fixture against a team who are under pressure for a win, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of seemingly a lot of discontent in their both in their fan base and in possibly even in the squad. Given that, I mean, they kind of underachieved a little bit last year, albeit with distraction of European football, where I think they got to the semi-finals of the Conference League, didn't they, in the end? So obviously played a lot of football. Seemingly had about 15 players out injured at any one time, which doesn't seem to be letting up at all, despite having had a full summer to try and recharge batteries and everything. They still seem to be dropping like flies up there. So yeah, they're a funny team that on their day can tear the best to pieces. But I mean, they're kind of a better version of us. I think a more stable version of us, in that, as I say, on their day they can compete and beat anybody. But at their worst, they are an absolute train wreck, and it's basically down to us to try and force the latter part. I mean, personally, I would want us to be paying particular attention to Maddison, because he always seems to have a good game against us. If you stop the supply of ball into his feet, all of a sudden their options are very, very limited. So I think if you're able to get someone in and around him, sort of almost, I mean, not even necessarily just man mark, but kind of shadowing the area kind of in front of him, so the ball just doesn't reach him in the first place, then yeah, all of a sudden, then when we win it back, we're able to spring on the counter attack, and we've got, all of a sudden, we look like we've actually got some good options in certain areas.
And Jacob, do you think it helped that we're away? away from St Mary's, maybe pressure off a little bit, because yesterday you just felt like, that stray pass or when that second goal went in, then it definitely turned. So maybe this could be a good fixture, or one of the better ones we could ask for away against a team that need a point.
Possibly, but I like to think that Leicester's problems are also Saints inflicted too, because Martin Glover's not allowed to work until September 1st. And the issue is one of the reasons why they haven't signed anyone is because they've got too big a squad, because the likes of Ryan Bertrand and Yannick Vestergaard, they can't shift on. So really, Southampton, are the root of their problems. So that could be a positive taken into the game, but as well as being away from home as well. But I think the Saints fans, on the whole, I know there was a few boos and stuff like that. I think, especially in the first half, I thought they stayed with the team, because I've been in different stadiums and stuff like that where it's becoming really fractious quite early on, and it's only after the second goal where I thought, okay, this is bad. Yeah. So yeah, it takes away from hasn't been too good recently, but let's just hope it changes on Saturday.
Let's do some predictions then. So our little predictions league that we do, 3 points for the correct score, 1 point for the correct result. Ben, Glenn, Alex, Steve, myself all came away with a point after the weekend. Alfie House, who was with us last week from the Echo, correctly predicted the 2-2 draw. So he automatically storms into the lead at the moment with 4 points. Alfie's going with a 2-2 draw again. We checked in with him earlier. Big Boss Ben reckons we're going to lose 2-1. I don't think we can get much out of this. I'm going for a 2-0 defeat. I think we'll get caught chasing the game. I'm going to come to you first, Steve. Your thoughts on the
goals. I think defensively they're poor. I mean, we've all seen what we can offer up defensively as well. So I think it's going to be an entertaining one. It's just a case of well, yeah. I mean, ultimately I'd take a 0-0, but I just don't see it happening. Probably, I don't know, 3-2 Leicester.
3-2. Right. Glenn, score prediction from you, please, sir.
I'm gonna have a madness and predict Saints to win 2-1.
2-1. All right.
Yeah, I think we got a bit of momentum going into the game after that 20 minutes, and they'll be keen to keep that going. So
yeah,
I think we're playing them at a good time. I might be talking complete and utter cobblers, and we'll get hammered. But
Jacob, you agree? We're taking the momentum into the game on the front foot here.
I do, and it's funny because that's the first thing Alfie said to me after the game. He got the prediction right. I think he honestly was absolutely buzzing about it. I was going to say 2-1, but I don't want to copy Glenn, so I'm going to go 3-2 Southampton.
3-2 Southampton. Right. Okay. So big important one as well, because next 3 games obviously got Manchester United at home, then Chelsea at home, and then Wolves away. So we'll see.
6 points at Man United.
Well, yeah, definitely. Biggest cheer in O'Neill's pub yesterday, that was. Got a couple of minutes before we finish. Just want to talk about some of the transfer business. This week saw the greatest announcement, I thought, of a signing. I don't know if you saw Burnley's unveiling of Nathan Teller with the spoof of Bruce Forsyth's Generation game, which was brilliant. Jacob, a few more going to be going out, do you think, on loan? You talked about the size of the squad and Ralph looking to trim things down. Is there? There's obviously more work to be done there. Is it going to be a quiet week and everything's going to happen before the window closes?
I think we're just waiting for that day where just everything seems to happen, because there's so many players that, the futures are uncertain. And even if they're playing, I think Slams are quite open to them leaving. I did a piece earlier last week, and I'm not saying all 9 who I mentioned will be gone. It's just 9 are, potentially more as well, that Southampton are open to selling. So it could be busy in terms of player departures, but I think Southampton are going to try their hardest to get that experienced centre back in, and as well as obviously that striker as well, because the striker is so important. We've said it for 3-4 weeks now. Every game it just seems to become even more glaring, doesn't it? So Southampton will keep being active, and it's going to be a really busy time. I like to hope, and I think so too.
Were you surprised, Glenn, to see Nathan Teller go out? And I wanted to ask, maybe like the pair of you, I don't know. And I was trying to think this week, when they say, they're going out and he's going to Burnley, he's going to get some decent experience and he's going to come back. The same with Will Smallbone. I was trying to think of a player that's their age, that's gone out, done a season on loan, come back into the first team and made a difference. It normally ends up being loan, then another loan next year, and then they leave because they've got a year left or their contract expires. To me, it's like it doesn't happen like that. And every time you hear it, you think, he'll come back and he'll be better. And I was struggling to think of a good example. If they're good enough, they'd be playing now.
I think their age is very significant. When Dynal Simiu went out last year, he was only 19 or something, and he went out to Carlisle, was it? And and he largely did very well. Will Smallbone has been held back recently by his injuries, obviously, and because of him being the sort of player that he is, it would be good, very good for him to have a season in the Championship to toughen him up and see whether he's suitable. I mean, I actually think he's got something to offer. So he may come back. Nathan Teller, I'm really not sure about, because for me, it always seems to be one step forward, two steps back for him. He reminds me a little bit of Michael Obafemi, and that he'll have one good game and then he'll be rubbish and he'll get substituted at half time and all this sort of stuff. So he's gone to Burnley, who now are a very good club to go to because of the manager they've got now and the way they're going to try and play football. So it should suit him. I'm a little bit skeptical about him. He's 23. That's what I keep reminding myself. He's 23. It constantly annoys me that the Saints media team refer to him as Star Boy. He's 23.
Star man.
It's not like he's 18. He's 23. By the time he was 23, James Ward-Prowse had played 200 games or whatever. And I don't think it does him any favors. And so he's gone to Burnley now. It'll be out of his comfort zone, and it's sink or swim time for him. If he tears it up in the Championship, then why not? We're not great in the wide positions. That's why we've got so many of them, because none of them have really cemented that place down. So he may come back and haven't had a great season there, or it may be apparent that that's the best level he's going to get to. But it's a big season for him, and it's a brilliant opportunity. I hope he grasps it.
And Steve, do you think we'll see these guys back and making a difference in our team, or do you think that there's only one way once this happens?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same viewpoint as Glenn, really. That for the most part, generally when we end up loaning players out, if they're really young, then fine, okay, it's an experience building thing. You get to play first team football, come back, and then we'll reevaluate. But I think someone like Teller, who's been in and around the first team for 3 years now, at least, has been given quite a lot of opportunities. Not so much last season. There was that weird sort of 2 or 3 month period where he just vanished from off the face of the earth, without anybody really saying anything. Didn't sound like he was injured or anything, but just wasn't in favour. Hasn't really sort of made a compelling case for him to get any more opportunities, really, which is a shame, because that period in lockdown where he kind of broke through in that Project Restart period, that was the kind of time where he kind of exploded onto the scene. You thought, oh wow, we've got one here, and unfortunately, it's just not quite panned out that way.
Alfie's watching, by the way, on YouTube, Jacob, and he says you mustn't believe a word that he says. I think his version of events in the press box yesterday may differ slightly from yours.
Ask the witnesses about it. They'll beg to differ, Alfie.
Well, he'll be back with us next week.